Hey everyone, it's Jessie from Condo to Cottage. So, wanted to take a quick minute here sitting in the shade. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but we are going through a heat wave here in New Jersey. The heat index in parts of the state today, ladies, please, goodness, is like 110 degrees, which is pretty crazy for here. The heat index here is 100, so it is steamy. So I am sitting in the shade to introduce this video. So it is July 20th, and the garden is in full swing. And in fact, there's a big part of me that is starting to plan and implement what I will be doing to welcome in the fall garden. So I will talk more about this while I'm showing you guys around, but basically, you're not done planting. You're not done gardening. You still have some things to plant if you want to use your space as wisely as possible and create the most food for your family as possible. So even if you're just getting started, the fall garden is a whole other garden, so it's actually really exciting. So I am starting to think about that and plan that. And in other news, this has been going on for a few weeks now. Jimmy, our world famous chicken here, she's gone broody again. And she has been broody for like 3 weeks at least, meaning she is sitting on, hi Whitey. She is sitting on eggs up in the coop behind me. There's like a little box sticking out the side. That's where she's sitting. I go up there several times a day and scare her out of it, or I just literally push her out of the coop. She's sitting on eggs. We don't have a rooster, so she thinks that she's sitting on fertilized eggs and she wants to be a mama again. We have done this twice with her already, and we have gone out in the middle of the night and got chicks that we've gotten from Tractor Supply. And in the middle of the night, we've put them underneath her, and she thinks she hatched babies, and she raises them as her own. However, we are not interested in expanding our flock right now for several reasons. Number one, my husband and I actually are eating plant-based, which means we're not eating our eggs, even though they are absolutely delicious. I thought she was out for a second. I thought I saw her out, and I was like, oh my God, she heard me talking about her. But that's just orange. So we don't eat eggs anymore. So we have a lot of eggs. We just give them away to family and friends. So, but to keep increasing our flock when we don't eat the eggs, not so sure if that's the wisest decision. Also, I really want to be able to use our land as wisely as possible. We don't have a lot of land. We only have a half an acre. And if we're not eating the eggs, and I could use that property back there to grow more food that we would eat, that might be a better use of the space. So, any other chicken farmers, vegan? That's weird, right? Any of you out there? So we're gonna keep who we have. We love their pest control. Like, they eat so many ticks and bugs that normally we would have issues with. So that part is huge. So I'm not excited to not expand our flock. I love having chickens. They're super sweet. They're fun. But thinking about it from a practical standpoint, I think as our flocks, get smaller, we won't replace them. We don't eat our chickens. We don't butcher our chickens, so they will live a long and happy life, grazing in the backyard and actually grazing all over the place, just not my garden. So yeah, so speaking of the garden, let's take a quick look around. All right, so we look at this tomato patch. It looks pretty insane and healthy. It's spilling over into the walkway. There is still kale under there. I didn't pull it, but I haven't really been using it, so it's actually looks pretty healthy. So that tomato patch those are cherry tomatoes. I don't see any red. None are blushing yet, but they're in there. They're ready. Now to the left of that, we have green beans that are starting to die back. They are the color on them, and the reason that they're dying back is because of where I placed them. So I feel like at this point it's like a losing battle because of where the squash is just taking over. And you see these like light green leaves. I'm not sure if you can see on this on the screen, but those are brand new leaves. Like those are new growth, and they are just continuing to grow. It's actually completely spilled over, and there's fruit on it down on the ground. So scallop squashes, I guess, get really, really big, and I did not know that when I picked it out. But that's okay, because I have used them in cooking, and they're really yummy. So the green beans just haven't been producing as much. So if I think about it realistically, I want to keep my green beans, but they're not providing me as much food as my patty pan squashes. So I'm going to just kind of give up the battle, I think, and let those green beans die back. I planted new green beans, so I'll show you those. So then the cucumbers here. So this is all spaghetti squash, or I'm sorry, patty pan squash. And then the row of cucumbers, which I just looked. We had a yard sale yesterday, so I didn't come out and look at these massive cucumbers. So I am going to pick those right next to the squash bug that's squash bugs all over these. So that's one cucumber. I'm gonna have to come out here when I'm not on video because there are a bunch. Look at this weird shape though. So that is coming from, I believe that's actually a Market More as well. I don't know if that's my Chicago pickling. But what happens with this weird, like with drought, and then when you get a lot of rain, that is what happens with those kinds of cucumbers. So I will come back and harvest more of those. And then I made some fridge pickles with them. My dad has been eating a lot of them. I just bring him some cucumbers because he is like doing a low carb thing, and they're good for that. And then the other ones I just put in like salads. So here's the other side of that patty pan squash, the yellow scallop squash. And that guy is about ready to come off of there. There we go. Could have gotten a little bit bigger, but the way that this heat has been, I would have to wait until tomorrow, and I don't want him to get damaged by these squash bugs. So I'm just gonna prune this leaf that's broken while I'm in here. Everything else in there is looking okay. There's another squash. So the way I arranged these beds this year is it's a little tricky. So see that guy in there? That actually like lost some of its scallop, and it looks more like a pumpkin. Let's see if I can get it. There we go. So this one's funny. It's like lost its scalloped edge. I have my potential ground cherry, which is looking pretty good. And I think it has a little flower. So I'm not sure if that's the ground cherry flower, but I'm gonna go look it up. Here's an eggplant. That is the ones that I transplanted. I moved from underneath that squash. And I don't know if you can see all those flea beetles on there, but they're there. So, but that's okay. They're doing all right. And then our lettuce. So I showed last week the lettuce has gone to seed. I need it to go to flower so that I can harvest the flowers. So I will show you guys that later if I can. So then in this mess back here, I think what I'm going to wind up doing, because I still have a bunch of beets, I'm going to come out, I think I'm going to pick the beets and make something with them. And then in this space, I'm going to start planting something different. I just ordered some rutabaga seeds. This is some Swiss chard down here that I planted. It might be too warm for it to be growing fast, but it's getting there. I just noticed this like interesting trumpet like flower here. No idea. Is that petunia? I have no idea what that is coming from. or why it is there. But yeah, so these beets and those carrots I'm gonna pick probably this week and just try and get them out. I've been avoiding the carrots because they just are such a pretty flower and the pollinators really, really love them. But as you can see, the flowers are themselves are starting to die back. So, you know, I'll just come and probably take those out either this week or next. So then this tomato plant, something's going on. I've been pruning it because see these yellow, like, stems? I've got some sort of disease going on in this patch. Now, I'm pruning them out, but eventually I'm going to have no leaves left. And this guy has some nice fruit on it. I mean, that's a pretty nice sized tomato. So I hope that this whole plant doesn't die before that tomato ripens. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to try and ripen it off of the vine. But something's definitely up with that tomato plant. I don't know what it is. And then back here we have that kale. And if you look, let me show you. I planted some dragon tongue bush beans. So yeah, those big heart-shaped leaves, those are the dragon tongue bush beans. So once the kale's pulled, which looking at it now, it actually looks healthier. That's just a story of my life. I plan something and then it laughs in the face of planning. We'll see. But either way, those are some beans there. And I might throw some into a container, some of these containers that I have, and we'll see what happens. So this is just another little tomato, cherry tomato. And this is that crazy tomato area, well, one of, with the one that we had from inside. So this is actually kind of interesting. If you look, like the one from inside is the only one with blushing tomatoes. In fact, there's some on there I got to harvest. That chipmunk kind of stopped. I don't know if he became roadkill or something, but he's no longer eating in my garden, so okay. The ones on the right, though, are the ones that we planted. One was transplanted from this, so that's kind of the sicker one on the end. But these were ones that we planted from seed this spring. So they are not, you know, they're slower, but they look a lot healthier. I do have to come out here and trellis these crazy ones that are peeking out from the side. It's just been, I haven't been spending too much time in the garden because it's been so hot, and I don't know, so I didn't show you guys last year, but I have like an elf year band-aid going on. I had this skin cancer scare, which we're still waiting for complete results on, but so I'm trying to stay out of the sun, and I can't get like sweaty while I still have stitches in, and I have like 7 or 8 stitches in there. So I'm only gardening in the morning or in the evening, and there's sometimes just not enough time before work to get stuff done. So for right now, my garden is kind of taking a beating, but I have to look after my health first. So tomatoes looking good. Now this squash, I did come out and prune it earlier when was that? It was late last week, maybe Saturday morning actually, when I was watering. I did a deep watering, which basically just means I let the hose on there and then I let the water get, you wanted it to be at least 3 inches of the soil was wet. So I tried to do a deep watering before the heat really set in, and I pruned a bunch of these leaves on the other side. Because I think that I'm having a pollination issue here. So, but it looks like they grew new leaves within that short period of time. So I'm probably going to come out and prune some of these back a little bit so that the bees can see those pretty flowers and get in there and pollinate and give us some squash. And this one, same thing. This one's even worse. That's the Ronde Denise squash, and I'm just not getting anything out of it. So pollination issues for sure. So I trimmed up a bunch on the back side of it to let the flowers be exposed. Here's crazy tomato patch number 2, 3, 4, I don't know. Looking good here. I'm gonna have to re-trellis this a bit, or stake that up. It's looking like he's gonna fall right over. Have some good looking tomatoes in here. Whew, it's already getting hot out here. Some that I I've picked had blossom end rot, which is like where you get this dark scab on the bottom. And it can be caused by a variety of things. Not sure exactly what the cause of it is for me. It could be caused by overwatering, but I don't think that's the case because I kind of neglect my plants with the watering. But that's okay. Only a few had it, so I pulled those off and we're good. But we have some good looking fruit in there. Over here we have the melon that will not give up, but I doubt will give us anything. I think it's also being eaten by squash bugs. If you can see that, those little stems there, definitely being a target of the squash bugs is a little rough. The ones down here on the bottom are just dying out, so that's okay. We might just not get any melons this year, but that's such is life. God, seriously, you don't come out for a day and then or I guess 2 days, and the insanity of the tomatoes. So yeah, these tomatoes looking good. Look at this trellis. It's almost getting full across the top. So these are, these have a blue shoulder on them. So I'm not exactly sure which ones these are. But this guy completely fell over. So I'm gonna have to stake him back up. But I don't think he broke, it's just bent. Then we have this crazy huge marigold and a lot of eggplant. And we do have some eggplant babies in here. That's a nice size one. Lots of flowers. So some more eggplant babies coming up over here. So that's great. And look at so I let these go to flower, but look how pretty these purple opal basil flowers are. They are just the cutest little pink flowers, and I love them. I want to harvest a bunch of these, of the basil, to either make into like a pesto, or I actually want to freeze them in a lemon juice so that I can make like, we like to make a lemon basil mojito. And so I figured I can try that and then freeze them so that you have, you know, lemon basil ice cubes for your drink. So I'm going to try that. Let's see, our peppers in here. We've got the grand bell peppers looking really nice, looking good. Bell peppers you have to leave on the vine to get to red, which is the kind that I like, so they're kind of a pain in that sense. I believe this is a Mira pepper. So I don't like hot peppers. I don't like spicy food. So all of these ones are non-spicy varieties. Like this one, which I'm gonna have to see how long until I should harvest it. That's called a jalapeno, and it's got the flavor profile of a jalapeno without the spice. So pretty excited about that. And there's a bunch of them on there. They look like little Christmas ornaments. They're so cute. So yeah, and then this just random rogue tomato as usual. So the inside of this garden is looking insane. It's just looking so wild and like unruly. I can't even believe how crazy it's gotten. It feels like it just happens overnight, you know. There's like one little blushing cherry tomato on there. So that's good. We're looking good there. So this trellis here. So if you look at this garden behind me, I mean, that thing last year the arch was completely covered by tomatoes and cucumbers, mostly tomatoes. So the fact that it's got like barely anything on it right now, some of these tomato plants are actually coming back a little bit. However, not in a fast enough way that I'm gonna get the crazy growth that we had last year. So I came out here the other day and I did plant some purple potted pole beans and a second round of pickling cucumbers. I didn't go with the market more because the pickling you pick really young, so they're gonna have more time. I'm gonna get more out of them for like that they'll mature than the market mores would, because they have to get really a lot bigger. So you want to look at how many days you have left in your season, which you can do a quick Google search of. I'll talk to you about it later this week, but I wanted to let you know for the garden tour that I did come out here the other day and plant some second round beans and cucumbers. So let's take a look. So in these, I basically did every other container. And these containers do dry out a lot faster than the garden beds do. So I really do have to stay on top of the watering with them. And you can see one of these, I don't know. Oh, look at that little guy there. Those are actually ripening. How exciting. I have ripening fruit on this crazy dead looking area. So this is actually a bean as well, but it just hasn't been doing much. So that one, I think I didn't plant anything new in there, but then I did like every other container. I did cucumbers or pole beans. And the pole beans just grow up the trellis. And then we have back there more tomatoes, potatoes in those two. Tomatoes, I did some in there, some extra beans or cucumbers, tomatoes in here. And same thing on this side. Although it looks like one of my bean seeds didn't, I don't know if somebody dug it out. That's interesting. And then these are the Brad's Atomic Grapes. These tomatoes, they're really neat looking. So that's a new variety I haven't tried. So I'm gonna see how, those have to get a little bit red. The bottom will turn red on them. So everything else in here is looking okay for now, considering how much of a stunted start it had. I think I just really have to stay on top of the watering. And over there in that pergola area, all we have left is that little row of tomatoes. My chickens are yelling at me because it's almost 8:30 and I didn't let them out yet. So mean. So these are all looking healthy. This patch actually looks super healthy and no disease. And we do have little fruits coming up. So that's great. Today's harvest. All right, so that is the garden in a nutshell for July 20th, and I will be making another video this week to talk about that fall garden like I was mentioning. And you know, it's tough because you have to wait, and some things you're gonna have to start inside. So who is chirping like that? Ladies? I think that's one of the babies. They are not babies anymore. You see them there? Lulu just scared them and they jumped. You have to kind of wait for some of the things in your garden to die, which means like your tomatoes and stuff like that. So you have to, some things you have to plant inside and start as seedlings. So it is something to think about. But anyway, you guys, I hope you have a fantastic week, a fantastic day, and let me know what is happening in your garden. What's going on? I get some pictures sent to me and they make my day. So send me pictures, post pictures, comments. What is going on in your garden this week? I will see you guys soon. Have a great day.